Thanks for watching my end of summer market update. The end of summer is always a great check-in point because half the year's in the books, we have resultant trends to base our end of year forecast on, and we can apply end of year seasonality. As I put together this data, I had several recurring themes running through my head. What the heck happened over the last 3 months? What should we expect over the next 3 months? And the real estate data that most people see is really measured 60 days in arrears. What the market is doing right this minute won't be in the headlines for a couple of months after the closings are measured. Let's get ahead of that. While not the only influential factor, the biggest influence was the sharp rise in mortgage rates in the second half of March. Many buyers were able to lock in their rate, but new buyers entering the market sure backed away because the same homes they were looking at a month ago would now cost them hundreds more on their monthly payment, and not because of the sellers upping the price or that the house increased in value. The chart shows what had been happening to affordability year over year in June. Sure, prices were appreciating, but as those mortgage rates continued down, those monthly payments went down, meaning everyone could now afford more expensive homes than in the previous year. It was a glorious trend, but as you can see, as of this June, with prices up and now a spiked increase in rates, affordability went from great to buyers saying, hold up, wait a minute, should we reassess this purchase? Now, if you're thinking these median sales prices are low, they're for our entire MLS, and first-time home buyers drive the market. So if they're hurting, all price points feel it. I wanted to track my mood on the market over the past 3 months, and this chart I cobbled together illustrates it. In May, the DC Metro was barely down year over year in volume, but almost 10% down in the number of units sold. I stayed optimistic. In June, the gap widened to almost 13% less units sold, and July continued the trend with more than 15% less units sold year over year. The volume wasn't dropping at a comparable pace due to home price appreciation. Now, if we zero in just on July in the DC area, year over year, we were down 23% in sales volume, and sold units are down 28%, which made July the most significantly different year over year month in 2022. I expect the negative changes to start to curve as we enter the fall. Meanwhile, prices still increased 5%, mostly because we still had constricted inventory. There are still not enough houses for the new adjusted amount of buyers in the marketplace. New pendings, which is a more real-time barometer than closed sales in my opinion, shows the typical seasonality we have with a sharp spike in spring markets, a declining summer, and then there's typically a blip of increased activity around October, November, when those end-of-year closings get under contract. Those are the buyers that are out looking right now, as a typical buyer now has an 8-week search period according to NAR. If I squint and magic eye this chart, it looks like our 2022 market is shaping up similarly to 2017 or 2018. Listings year over year are up, and for the first time in a while. Notice that last summer we saw a summer trend of increased inventory, but this year it was even more pronounced. You may see this chart and assume, oh, we're being flooded with listings. We're not really. Last year we were complaining about such little inventory, but we've added even less listings this year. It turns out that sellers aren't rushing to put their homes on the market in what seems to be an unfavorable market. Sellers were incentivized heavily to put their homes on the market during the buyer frenzy. I think now they're waiting to see what plays out, and this correction is so fresh on their minds, they want to stop and see. We saw earlier that prices were still on the rise, although that has slowed. We typically see a rise in the percentage of active listings with price drops in the summer, but that was even sharper this summer. With less buyers and sellers needing to move to the front of the line, they backed away from their make me move price that they had reason to believe would work based on the last 12 months. This doesn't mean prices are declining, but it does show that sellers aren't just tacking 10% onto their list price based on whatever the neighbor's house sold for a month ago. Some good economic factors boosting our local DC real estate market. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, we have the largest share of recession-resistant jobs. Also, while the job market is currently going through a shift, we still aren't even back to employment levels we had pre-pandemic. It's likely the metro areas that have passed the 100% mark on this graph could have overhired and could have a difficult constriction in jobs over the coming months. We still need more workers here, so I expect job opportunities to continue to be available, in our DC metro over the next year. In conclusion, less incentive for sellers and less incentive for buyers now. Affordability was very high over the past 2 years, even with increasing prices due to really low mortgage interest rates. That caused competition for the low inventory we had, incentivizing sellers to put their homes on the market. Now we have yet another decrease in new listings coming on the market, yet inventory is finally starting to creep up. This clearly illustrates the hit to demand is greater than our supply problem for the first time in multiple years. Less new listings, but even less new buyers are tapering this market back to something, frankly, a little more rational. We were seriously scared we were going to run out of homes for sale during parts of 2021. So a cool off in demand and letting some of the new pricing and mortgage rates settle feels rough in the short term, but healthy for the medium and long term. We asked for a soft landing for our economy, and signs show that we're likely headed for a soft landing in real estate at least. It's weird out there though, with some unprecedented factors playing out, so make sure you know your stats and you can win in any market.